it's being a pill. And it looks like it's still being a pill. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. This show, usually without issue, airs every Saturday, every weekend at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, usually on the dot, not 9 minutes later. If you have any questions or concerns, make sure to email me at ljjohnson@gmail.com. And make sure to check Twitter at the Eljay Johnsen so you can make sure you have all of the updates and any guest announcements, which are usually made on Tuesday. Okay. We seem to be good. If you can't gather from this introduction, there have been a myriad of technical difficulties that have plagued us this week. I am still looking into it. It's a mess. It's very... I think I have it narrowed down to potentially, and this is the worst case scenario, potentially the motherboard. That might be on the fritz. The Ethernet cable has been completely replaced. There was an Ethernet cable that I had that was broken, and it's been replaced wholesale. It's fine now. So we're coming down to a few awful options. However, something that isn't awful is my next guest. He is a system mockist, making only our favorite moments from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He makes excellent system dioramas and is an up-and-coming LEGO YouTuber who is consistent in his quality and his content. I am, of course, talking about the one, the only, Vision Bricks. How's it going?
It's going good, LJ. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for taking the time, and thank you for your patience. I hope I haven't burnt you out on the intro experience.
No, you haven't.
All right, thank goodness. We made it. This is what I had promised from the start. This is it. Well, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. Um, just been working on between editing and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's been pretty busy for the past few weeks.
Fair, fair. I can understand that. Gotta get involved with the grind, the YouTube grind.
Yep.
But fair. So I will ask a question that I've started to ask most everyone once they're here on the show,
Okay.
and that is, how is the weather?
The weather is very harsh. It's been raining for about past 2 days, like a lot of rain. So,
Ooh, wow, gosh, dang.
yeah.
I mean, I'll trade. It's a little on the warmer side right now, and I mean, I could always use some
Yeah,
rain. I live in a desert.
it normally is. Normally, it's always extremely hot in the Georgia area, but today it decided to rain like a lot.
Oh, goodness. Well, heck, it's got to stop sometime soon, doesn't it? Because, I mean, summer is in like a
Yep,
couple
it's
weeks.
definitely gonna. Yeah, it's definitely gonna stop at some point.
Fair enough, fair enough. But hey, my opinion is enjoy it while you have it, because rain is always
Yep.
it's always good. Makes everything much greener and not as
Yep.
dry and hot and awful. Desert. Maybe that's just a perspective thing for me. I'm biased. I, I digress. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes. Finally, and tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself. Tell us how you got into Lego and eventually into the community and into making YouTube videos.
All right, so let's see, 2017, or I'll start off. I just actually, my name is Kirk Wilson, but I go by the name of Vision Bricks. 2017, I went to a convention in Atlanta, Georgia, where I met someone who saw some of my creations that I had been making at home. At this time, I wasn't on YouTube, and they suggested that I start a YouTube channel. I took that advice and eventually started posting videos, got a bit more consistent with it, started making more mocks, and that's kind of been where I've been at. I think it's safe to say I started building around 14 or 15, and I've been doing that kind of ever since.
Okay. Excellent. So that was your first Lego convention, is that correct?
That would, yep, that would be my first Lego convention. The second would be Philly Brickfest 2018.
Okay. All right. So very, very recent. And were you ever into Lego prior to that?
Prior to that, no. I think my Lego interest started around 14 or 15.
Okay. So yeah, you're very, very recent in the hobby. That's a surprise. I don't
Yeah,
often meet people that are that new to Lego. Like usually I talk to a lot of folks who have been in it either most of their lives or for easily decades. So
yeah.
that's interesting. So being so new to it.
Community, I think that everyone in the community in general should always be supportive, and I definitely have seen a lot of that in the community, which I do enjoy. Um, I would say that building with Lego definitely has allowed me to express more of my creative side. I've always enjoyed like kind of like I guess like tinkering with stuff and stuff before like during my prior childhood.
Mhm,
But once I kind of got into the Lego aspect, I kind of knew that moment that was like that's what I'm into. That's my thing.
mhm. That makes a lot of sense. Now, obviously enough, Lego is a very creative media or medium,
Yeah, definitely.
and it lends itself very well to this. And create you have. Tell us a little bit about your experience with mocking. You make a lot of scenes from. I'll say maybe Disney movies is a little more apt. Well, no, okay. Is Gremlins a Disney movie? I don't think Gremlins is a Disney movie.
Gremlins would be a Steven Spielberg and Joe Dante film.
Okay,
So it's
fair
by
enough.
Amblin.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I didn't think it was Disney. It's very difficult
Yeah,
to tell now.
yeah.
but
Disney is always putting their hands in everything now these days.
yeah, yeah. So in that case, I'll say film with a predominance in the MCU. How did you get to making these larger scale, more diorama esque creations? What started that, and how have you enjoyed doing that?
Let's see. So I I think I can say that I've been into Marvel for pretty much most of my time. I think the first film I've watched was the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and then the rest of those movies in the trilogy.
Hmm.
Uh, I watched like several X-Men movies, and then eventually started watching like the MCU movies when that started, like with Iron Man and all the way up to Avengers Endgame. So I definitely have more of a, I guess, like connection to it, and I just overall just enjoy that version in terms of like superhero characters and stuff.
Hmm.
And so with Lego having sets and stuff in regards to that theme, I just thought that it was like very interesting in terms of being able to recreate different scenes from the movies that I love, but with using something that I also love, which would be Lego.
Hmm.
So in terms of the mocking and the dioramas and stuff, I know in terms of diorama, the first diorama I would consider me doing, which would be the Infinity War diorama for the Wakanda Forest battle.
Hmm.
Anything prior has kind of been more of a variety until up till now, when I recently started kind of like really focusing on the Marvel aspect. And I think the reason for that was because I haven't been seeing there definitely are several out there that are making Marvel themed mocks, but I'm not seeing as much of it. So I'm like, maybe this will be a cool, I guess, like category or aspect to kind of tap into when it comes to the Lego mocking hobby.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of what started that whole interest recently.
Okay, I see. And I think you're right. Like I've seen a lot of minifigure mocks from
Yeah,
Infinity War and Endgame. And for anyone who's gonna for anyone who hasn't seen Endgame, we're gonna be discussing Endgame. We're gonna be discussing some scenes. It's been
yes,
over a month since the movie came out. So if you haven't
yes.
seen it, you're
So,
just not gonna. It's like, all right. Um, but I've seen a lot of minifigure mocks, especially with Fat Thor and Iron Man, Iron Men to a variety of extents. But you're right. I
yeah,
haven't seen a whole lot of mocks. Yours are the first ones that I've seen that have really gone in on the scenes.
yeah.
Now,
I think from my experience so far in terms of like large dioramas, I see more Star Wars
mm-hmm,
than like other themes, which is kind of like another part of that reason.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I definitely recall, especially at conventions like Brick Fair, Virginia. I absolutely recall seeing, and this is over where Ryan M&R Productions was, just this
Yeah.
large scale Star Wars diorama. I've seen them all over the place. They're definitely very popular, which is fine, but we got to have a little variety.
Variety. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. When you're doing all these, well, what is the biggest challenge between doing something like a smaller scale scene, like let's say Thor gets Stormbreaker? Oh, before I finish this question, I have to ask, what do you think about the Stormbreaker that Lego has designed?
I would say it's not bad, but in terms of accuracy, which is always my big thing when it comes to Lego sets or minifigures or mocks, is in terms of accuracy. So with the Stormbreaker, I say it could have been better. They probably could have made a mold. Um, but in terms of how they built it, I mean the back part, like where it would be like a wedge type shape in the back of the Stormbreaker, I think that that was all right. And then the box shape that could have been a bit more have a bit more angle than like the whole just one by one square piece.
Mm-hmm.
It just
Yeah,
looks a bit weird.
yeah, no, I agree. I honestly think that the Stormbreaker that they made is possibly one of the worst adapted aspects of the MCU. Iron Man 3, notwithstanding,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
brought over into Lego. I think that and it's such a stupidly simple fix. If you just
yeah.
take a one by one square stud, and then you take a one by one square plate, smush them together, flip. You just flip
Yep.
the stick in the. It's not a lightsaber hilt. It's some other type of hilt. You flip them upside down. You attach the axe to that. You take your new little cube. You stick it on one end. It's much better. That is a
Much better.
massively instantaneous improvement. But no, I'm glad you kind of
But
kind of
yeah,
agree there.
yeah.
So back to the original question. Oh fudge, I forgot what the original question was. Oh yes, okay, no,
The
that's right.
process of
Yeah, kind of sort of the process. So what would you say are some of the different challenges between making something on a smaller scale, like Thor gets Stormbreaker, or Cap and Bucky versus Iron Man, or the Hall of Armor mock, as opposed to Cap wielding Mjolnir or the Battle of Wakanda?
I would say when making smaller mocks, the I think the main challenge is always being able to fit as much detail into it. So that always does bring a sort of challenge when you're trying to make it, again, like I said, as accurate as possible and have as much, I guess, like objects or detail into it. It's like you're working with a certain amount of space. You got to figure out how you can work with that space to make not have everything like super distracting where you can't really recognize what's going on. Um, so that always is kind of a bit of a challenge when making smaller scale mocks.
Mm-hmm. I see, and that's fascinating to me because obviously enough, you have so much detail in both aspects. They're insanely detailed. Like I only have one image from your Instagram of the Battle of Wakanda Forest, and it's only a
Yeah,
slice of what's actually going on. It's much larger in scale. Um, I do want to talk about that one specifically a little bit because that is the one
yeah,
I remember. It was after one of Kevin Hinkle's backlog building streams, I believe,
yep,
and we were just kind of hanging out, and you were showing myself and I think one other individual who was there at the time, showing us the mock itself, the progress, and how far it had come. And so that one interests me because it's so detailed and so large. Tell us a little bit about how large it is, like exactly like the size, the pieces,
um,
how long it took, and the
the,
process behind it.
the size would be 64 by 94 studs. Um, That's taking six 32 by 32 base plates, forming them in the shape of a rectangle. So you have three in the back, three in the front.
Oh my
I
goodness.
added like a black border around it, just to kind of have that like display type thing, like how some, for example, like I guess like professional or collectible type action figures have their like custom display stands. So I kind of went for that aspect of like make a outline of that and then have the scene taking place within that display base.
Mm-hmm.
I also added a nameplate there, which that was originally going to be titled Wakanda Forest or Battle of Wakanda Forest, something like that. And at the time, when I was waiting to make orders for the printed tiles, Lego or Bricklink ended up running out of the letter E, so I had to just kind of make that change to just Wakanda. That's where the challenge did come in for this mock, because Wakanda is spelled with 7 letters, and so having an even length of studs for 94 studs and having 7 letters or 7 studs length in the nameplate, that caused a bit of an issue, because like how do I fit it where it's still going to be center? So I did a bit of experimenting and prototyping and stuff like that, to where I got it to fit on hinge plates where the end clips or the end, the left end and the right end of the nameplate ends up kind of hanging off a bit, but it still has that grip to where it's still sturdy. Um, then eventually I kind of got into the whole terrain process with the filler section, which this was prior to starting on the mock. I did have like a bunch of trips that I made to pick a brick and stuff a while back, where I was just like kind of fairly new to the pick a brick system
Mm-hmm.
at the store, and so I was just picking up like a bunch of plates and stuff like in tan. So that's pretty much what's consisting all throughout the bottom of the mock, and then started with the process of like reddish brown and everything like that to get the terrain detailed and the certain gaps and stuff to just make it as like where you can see like the dirt clumps.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely was. I wanted to, like I said, with all my mocks, I want to make it as detailed. So even if it's like not some huge massive mock, I still want to make as much detail and accuracy where you can say, "Hey, I can notice what that is," or if it's a scene in terms of accuracy, you can say that I remember that scene. Like you can like notice it off the bat, especially if you're into what's it called, the MCU or Marvel in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, that makes plenty of sense. You want it to be. Obviously, the scene should have enough iconography on its own to be recognizable, but if it's
Yeah,
if it's a Mandarin flamethrower buggy of doom, then it's not going to
yeah.
be as well conveyed as opposed to something like this, which obviously is, as you just said, chock full of detail. And just based off this one photo, yeah, the ground is uneven. There are different layers to it. It's very natural looking. And this looks like the kind of thing that I'd expect to see from a professional Lego video from the company, like doing their large dioramas or their large Lego statues. That being the
Yeah.
case, how long did this take you in total?
Took me 10 months in total.
Oh my goodness.
Definitely would have took. It definitely would have taken a way shorter time, but I did have to do some other stuff between that whole building process and stuff, and then between waiting on parts or the funding for parts and stuff like that. So that's what kind of dragged it out to the whole 10-month period.
That makes
Normally, when
sense.
I do make mine, it takes a way shorter time. Like I can, for example, with the Hall of Armor mock that I made, that took like a day or so. Um, like I think my big thing is that if I have the pieces already accessible, it definitely wouldn't take me as long.
Mm-hmm. Reasonable. I get where you're coming from. Yeah, that's always one of the more challenging aspects is actually having
Yeah,
having the necessary pieces and equipment in order to produce and create and so on. So, of these, and I do want to now switch over to another one that you have made that more recently. I think you posted the video about whoopsie daisy. No, don't play. There you go. About 5 days ago. This is
uh,
Captain America versus Captain America wields Mjolnir. I told you, listeners, we're going to be talking about scenes here. Cap wields Mjolnir. And definitely not as large as the other one. However, it is still
Yep.
chock full of details. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about the process behind this one.
So this one, funny story. I actually had to take apart sections of Wakanda to make this one because
No.
I used all my base plates. I actually decided I was just going to do it because I hadn't been making any mock videos recently. It was kind of a bit of a stall there since I use majority of my parts, or at least the main parts that I use for most of my mocks in Wakanda. So the mock was already split. Wakanda was already split in half at the time because I had to fit it in a bin and everything. And so I was like, maybe if I just peel off this 32 by 32 base plate, hopefully it won't cause as much damage. I peeled it off. Some pieces were kind of hanging back because some weren't fully attached to one another, but
Mm-hmm.
most of everything still stayed intact. And then I pulled off a bunch of like the 2 by 4 reddish brown plates and 1 by 2 reddish brown plates off of Wakanda, and then I just pretty much used all that for that one mock. And the border from Wakanda, I used some of the pieces from that as well to make the outline border once again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was at first originally I was going to do the scene where Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America, they're walking up to Thanos and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, wait, someone's already done that because I did see a really good mock by someone. I was like, what about when Cap wields Mjolnir? I was like, that would be an interesting mock to do. Try and get some sort of good technique going. So I was messing around with some lightning pieces that I had from a Nexo Knight set. I think it was the Knight and Castle, and it has like a bunch of these lightning pieces in there. And I was like, this may work. So I started getting a bunch of them, just kind of laying them out with the texture. They're kind of loose. They're not really like physically attached to anything per se.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, one part is attached to the Mjolnir just to kind of have that thing where you can see that it's forming around the Mjolnir or coming out of the Mjolnir. And then it kind of goes to the ground and it's going towards Thanos. I used some dark gray pieces and stuff that I had and like some metallic or grill pieces and stuff just to get that greebling effect going
Mm-hmm.
for the junk and the rubble and everything. And the main reason why I was trying to kind of start on the mock was more so to test out techniques for a possible thing I'll do later this year. Maybe the full scale version of the Wakanda battle, not Wakanda battle, but the Endgame battle possibly. So,
Oh, the end game battle.
yep, the Endgame battle.
Ooh, I do not envy you tackling that. Oh my gosh. However, I'm immensely intrigued to see what you have cooked up. That is going to be one
Yep,
heck
definitely.
of an undertaking. So, when it comes to. Very briefly, I do want to comment on what you said that when you were figuring out what to do, how to do this scene. Obviously enough, you do have the kind of minifigure, the walk up to Thanos. That I think you teased it on social media.
Yeah,
It's currently part of the thumbnail, and I think it's one of the best images I've seen of that scene adaptation. It's a really good picture.
thank you.
So, but at the same time, it's like we mentioned earlier. A lot of people are doing these minifigure adaptations more so than scenes. So it's really good that you adapted such a not dynamic. Dynamic isn't the word I'm looking for. A kinetic scene where things are happening. There's a lot
Yeah.
of motion. There's a lot of action. Do you have more fun working on action scenes, or do you prefer something a little calmer, a little less motionly
I
motionless?
I'd say I prefer more action scenes because it gets more movement going and more kind of interest going in there, and it allows you to kind of work on different techniques and stuff.
Okay, I get that. I see where you're coming from there. I mean, obviously, I like looking at them. They're a lot of fun to see. Of course, with Cap and Mjolnir. Um, I think even your Spider-Man versus Vulture mock is also really kinetic. Now, all of these are obviously excellent. You have a bunch of videos on them, kind of breaking them down, no pun intended, and going through them. Getting into YouTube, what is something that you would have wanted to know starting out, and you would recommend to people who are looking to get into the same type of video work, like say the reviews or these kind of mock dissections that you do, what would you recommend to newcomers?
I would recommend definitely using what you have. A lot of people do think that you need a lot of fancy equipment and everything when you start off. I, for one, did not. I actually started my videos on a Galaxy S7 and kind of worked up from there, eventually getting a tripod and everything like that. So there were tons of moments where it was like a shaky camera, or something like that, because I'm using my hand most of the time and having to use the other hand to showcase the mock or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so just use what you have. Definitely don't worry about the equipment. That'll come later down the line. As long as you put your effort into what you're showcasing or discussing or sharing with someone, then they'll definitely still enjoy it more than oh, my video's in like 4K quality or whatever. Don't worry about that. Just it's about the content that you're delivering and the effort that you put into it.
That's some good advice. Yeah, I that is some excellent advice. I can corroborate it. It's important to just do, just make, just create. That is absolutely pivotal, especially when you're starting out. You're definitely not going to start out with videos looking like some example here of high quality videos. I don't know. Some popular YouTuber. I don't follow a lot of popular YouTubers, so just pick one.
Yes. Oh my. It's definitely not going to look like anything from out of the MCU. It's not going to look like anything.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be as high quality just yet, but it is something worth building up to. That is fair. So, okay, let's switch gears just a little bit because this is an interesting topic I want to talk with you about. Um, Obviously enough, a lot of your creations are based off of properties such as Marvel or Star Wars or Gremlins, and there's been a lot of conversation in the LEGO community pertaining to different LEGO themes. And generally speaking, there are two different types. There are licensed themes, so your Marvel, your DC, your Gremlins, and then there are original IPs. So that would be your Bionicle, Hero Factory, Ninjago. How do you feel about this conversation, licensed versus unlicensed? And do you feel as though licensed themes are somehow holding LEGO back in certain aspects? Or do you think that they're just like any other LEGO theme and they can still be enjoyed quite thoroughly?
I think that if Lego, for example, with like their non-licensed teams, like for example Ninjago, I think those still do very well. I mean, as we can see, Ninjago has been going on for several seasons. It definitely is starting to feel like it's kind of just ongoing and can eventually just be stopped. It should have been ended like a few seasons ago, if you ask me. But I would also say that if Lego has like a really interesting idea in terms of a non-licensed theme, I think it'll still do well. Uh, as for the licensed themes, I think those do way better because it's something that people recognize more, and it has more of a fan base, I guess. For example, if it's a Marvel set, or if you have a DC set, or for example, let's see, what's another license? You have the Voltron set, for example, from Ideas.
Mhm.
Like I think if more people have a connection to it, that's probably what caused it to do way better than the non-licensed stuff.
Yeah, I don't disagree, definitely. There's certainly a lot of familiarity with these themes, these franchises, and these brands, and I often will come across people who say, "Oh yeah, my first Lego set is Lego Star Wars in 2000." They get into it through something that they recognize, and through that, these licensed themes end up acting as a gateway theme to the general
Yeah.
hobby overall. I fail to recall. Is that how it was for you a little bit? Did you get into Lego through licensed themes, or were you more of an original IP fan?
My first two Lego sets were a creator set, which was the green. I always forget the name of it. It was a green robot that could turn into like a pickup truck and a helicopter, and it was a city set that has like a red, black, yellow, white stunt plane and like this little yellow car. That's those were given as like a Christmas gift, so that's kind of how I got into Lego. But I would say that the licensed stuff, like the Marvel stuff, kind of is what draws me in more.
Hmm.
The first Marvel set that I did get was the Daily Bugle Showdown set from the Ultimate Spider-Man series.
Oh, okay. All right. I can at least find a picture of that. The Crater set's gonna take me a lot of time, but Daily Bugle, I can handle that. um, okay, so that's kind of from that. That's from 2013. That's
Yep.
Here we go. Here is a picture of that. So it's the one with Doctor Doom and Spidey, obviously, and J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Oh man, that looks like a set from just another era. Like I don't see a lot of these
Yeah.
tall, kind of empty back buildings. They're usually a lot. They're more horizontally built nowadays, as opposed to as vertical and I would say thin as this. But it's got this kind of quaint quality to it, and obviously we got J. Jonah Jameson in it. That's always fun.
Yep. Definitely.
But yeah, no, that's so you would say you would definitely vouch for licensed themes in that they.
I would definitely vouch for the licensed themes more than the non-licensed stuff, unless it's like a really good idea or something, or something that like I can somewhat have a connection to based off, I guess, like the generalness of that non-licensed theme. I think I'm more drawn to the licensed stuff.
Okay, all right, and I think that's a reasonable perspective to take. Have there been any licensed themes? There, sorry, non-licensed themes, original IPs that have caught your attention?
Uh, Ninjago, uh, partially. I think during the let's see. I think it was during the one that was like the rebooted, not rebooted, but like the cyber type version of it, where it had like the sci-fi esque type thing going for it. I can't remember which season that was, but it was like it had like one dragon that was like with razor blades and everything,
Oh
and it
no,
had that kind of
that
sound.
is rebooted. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So Ninjago rebooted. So yeah, that I think that was the one that kind of had my interest because I kind of like sci-fi and everything like that. So I definitely was a bit more drawn to that
Hmm.
during that time.
Okay, that's reasonable. I get you there. I mean I'm actually quite a fan of rebooted. When it comes to Ninjago fans, it doesn't seem to be a popular one, but I quite like it.
Yeah,
Have you ever
yeah,
watched
I
any of
definitely
the
enjoyed it.
original shows?
Uh, I've watched most of Ninjago up to the season with Moro. I kind of stopped there, or actually no, I kind of continued into the Skybound series with the genie guy and
Hmm.
with the genie pirate, and then I kind of stopped somewhat in that season. As for Chima, I think I've seen like one episode, didn't really catch my attention. And as for any of their other ones, like Friends or anything like that, I definitely have not had any interest in it.
Hmm.
Nexo Knights, haven't watched any of Nexo Knights. I think Ninjago is the only one that I kind of like sat through to watch.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I get you there. I still need to finish Nexo Knights. I started Nexo Knights. I was following it pretty reliably, and I just dropped off at a point. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but nah, I've heard mostly good things about it. So, but all right, I definitely get where you're coming from. I think licensed themes are they're a good way of getting interested and invested in things. Speaking of which, since we've obviously been discussing a lot of movie licenses, do you first the two part question? First, do you play any video games? And second, do you like any of the themes that might be made from those games?
I have played video games on occasion. I definitely did. I think like the main video games that I really enjoy are kind of like open world stuff, where it's more freeness to you playing than
Mm-hmm.
the whole storyline. I mean, unless it's like a really good story, which I was actually talking about this the other day because I saw that the Avengers game is about to get announced. So if it's like an open world thing, I definitely enjoy those. Like for example, the Lego Marvel game, the original one. Then you have the Lego Avengers. I
Oh
think the
yeah,
Lego
yeah.
Avengers one's like by far my favorite because it had like such a huge roster of characters and everything. I even like went and got the whole DLC for it. I was like, this is a really this was by far the best one. And then Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 came out. Unfortunately, I never got to play that one, and that one has like the way better character creator and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. No. You know what? This is gonna be a little bit of an admission, but I have not played any
Okay.
of the recent Lego video games at all. I think.
Yes, same. Same.
Okay. All right. Good. Phew. I think
Yeah.
I honestly the only three I might have played would have been Lego Star Wars, like that original like trilogy or quadrilogy,
Yeah.
whatever collection. Bionicle Heroes, obviously. I would be remiss to not mention that, and a very very small portion of Lego Worlds, very very slight.
Okay. All right.
There might be one I'm forgetting, but I don't know. You know what? Forget it. I'm just gonna throw Minecraft in, just cause I like Minecraft. But all right, fair enough. Fair, because like I just thought about it, and I'm looking over to my left, and like there's a Minecraft set, and there's Reinhardt and Diva,
Uh huh.
and
Oh
those are
yeah, the
definitely good.
overall. Uh,
Have you played Overwatch?
I've played a few matches of it. It is an interesting game overall, uh, but not as much. I definitely wouldn't say I'm like a huge fan of the game, but I have played like a few matches of it occasionally.
Okay, that's reasonable. I get you. All right. Well, in that case, uh, would you be interested in answering any questions that we might have?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Awesome, fantastic. In that case, I will take this opportunity to open things up to the YouTube live chat. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask away. In the meantime, you are actually going to be making an appearance at Brickford, Virginia this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that would be correct.
Fantastic. Now, are you going as an exhibitor for all 5 days, or are you going to just go for the public days?
I'm going for all 5 days, the exhibitor days.
Excellent. Awesome. And I know you told me, are you going to be announcing publicly what you're bringing there, or just kind of bringing it and then letting
I'm
people
gonna
see?
make I'm gonna make an announcement video at some point of what all I'm taking. But I mean, I don't really think it's much of an issue to say already. I am gonna definitely be taking the Wakanda diorama. I'm gonna be taking my Hall of Armor mock that I have expanded. I haven't made a video on it yet, and then I'm going to be rebuilding my Spider-Man versus Foe there, and possibly another mock. I don't know. I have to see what other pieces I still have.
Okay. All right. So definitely Wakanda. And you said you're going to be remaking your Spider-Man versus Vulture mock?
Yeah, normally I do tend to kind of take my mocks apart, especially like the smaller ones, if I need like to use parts from them. Wakanda
Mm-hmm.
would actually be the first mock that I have kept together for a very long time. I think it would actually be, let's see, I finished the mock in 10 months, so by now it definitely has been a little over a year that the mock has been kept together.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Hmm. See, it surprises me. Like, if I were to make something of that large scale, I'd be a little hesitant to break it apart, you know? It's like, well,
Yeah,
it's done.
yeah,
I did it. I've conquered the mock, and, ooh, I want to build something else. See
exactly.
ya, mock.
Yeah, I think like normally that's the case. Like I make a lot of stuff that's like I want to keep this together, but I know if I keep this together, I'm not gonna have any parts left. So I always have to make that big sacrifice.
Yeah.
Kind of like what's it called? Spoiler here, but kind of like Infinity War and Endgame when the people actually I won't spoil it too much when the people have to make that sacrifice for the Soul Stone.
Ah,
Kind of like that.
yes. I get you. I know what you're talking about. Yep. No, that's reasonable. All right. So we do have a question here from Sakota, who asks, "What's your favorite MCU movie and scene.
Favorite MCU movie? Not going. I'm gonna leave out. We're gonna leave out Endgame because by default those are just.
Hang on,
I will.
losing
Let's
you
see.
just a little bit, just cutting out just a
How
smidge.
about?
Nope, nope,
uh,
still a little robotic.
Should I leave the thing real quick and try?
Yeah, give that a shot. Yeah. Apologies, everyone. We're just having a slew of technical difficulties today.
All right. How about now?
Beautiful. All right, continue, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
All right. All right. All right. Good. So yeah. So favorite MCU movie would be Captain America: Civil War. Favorite scene would be from Captain America: Civil War during the airport battle.
Mm-hmm.
I think that definitely was probably one of my favorite. And see, turns out I actually just I keep forgetting it, but that actually was the first movie directed by the Russos, so probably one of the reasons why I really enjoyed it. I think that was the first,
The
unless no, I don't
Civil
think it
War.
was Winter Soldier. I
Yep.
think I think Civil War was the first directed by the Russos, right?
Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure it's Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. It probably
Let's see.
is.
America Winter Soldier. Da, da, da. Because that was really where they made their big, yeah, director Anthony and Joe Russo, Captain America Civil
Okay,
War or Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was the first one.
Winter Soldier. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Winter Soldier was definitely another good one. I think why enjoyed Civil War was because it was like it definitely felt like more of an Avengers movie, in my opinion, because you're having a large roster of characters, and in terms of seeing the heroes actually, going head to head and everything, because there's that conflict going with the Sokovia Accords. It's like it, there's some real, I guess, like action or I guess like seriousness going on here because it's like you got to pick a side. Everyone has their own opinion on how they feel things should go, so they're kind of like having that conflict going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course that was Spider-Man's first appearance in the MCU, so that definitely was another enjoyable moment since Spider-Man is actually my favorite character.
Yep. I'll have to second that. Yep. Um, we'll talk about that in just a second because I think that's also very interesting.
Yeah,
And so that being the case, do you have a favorite scene?
the favorite scene would be the airport battle because that's when everything really does take place. Uh, Besides the airport battle, I think I'm gonna have to say the bunker scene with Bucky and Captain America and Iron Man. They're all going head to head
Mm-hmm.
because like you see, him, Bucky and Cap have been friends for since childhood before Captain America went through the whole frozen state and everything like that. So they have a real connection there. And it's like he's fighting for his friend. You got Iron Man or Tony Stark, who is also a friend of Cap, but not as much. So it's like he's like, I'm not going to go and side with you just because you're supposed to be the good guy. I've known Bucky longer. I know that he's a real good person, so he's gonna fight for what's right, which has always been the case with Captain America, which I think is why he would be one of my other favorite characters, just because he's like a very honorable and uh, worthy person. Hence
Mm-hmm.
why he was able to wield Mjolnir.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's about right. Yeah. No. Good picks. Solid picks. I 100% agree. Now, on the subject of Spider-Man, first of all,
Yep.
how do you feel about Homecoming in comparison to the other live-action Spideys? And how do you feel about Tom Holland compared to the other
Okay.
live-action Spider-Men, Spideys?
Straight away, I'm definitely going to say that I enjoyed Spider-Man: Homecoming. Really was it was a really good film in terms of the characters. Like for example, in terms of villains. First of all, we're getting Vulture. He's never been on screen before because the Sam Raimi trilogy only introduced. Let's see, you have Venom, you have Sandman, you have Green Goblin, uh, Doctor Octopus, and then
Hobgoblin.
the variant. Wait, Hobgoblin was in there? I don't
Isn't
recall
that
that.
isn't that technically Harry?
I guess so. I always, for some reason, always heard him as the new Green Goblin, or just Green Goblin in general again. I
Uh,
never, I don't recall it being Hobgoblin. Maybe so.
Let me double check. Maybe that I might be wrong about that, but let me make sure. Let me not put my foot in my mouth here. Um, Come on now. Let me see. Television, video games, toys. Okay, I guess not. I guess it's just New Green Goblin. Fair enough.
New
Never
Green
mind.
Goblin. Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I was.
That's my bad.
Yeah. I think that was what was introduced in that trilogy, and then you have the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, which just introduced the Lizard. You have Lizard, and then there was Electro, and then Green Goblin again as Harry. So it's like they did the same thing, just kind of added one or well two new characters with the Electro and Lizard, and that was kind of it.
Hmm.
Um, but with this one, it's like I think like they really had a new aspect. And then in terms of Tom Holland being Spider-Man, I really do enjoy his performance. I'm looking forward to Far From Home. I think he just has, in my opinion, like a very good balance in terms of playing both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So he
Hmm.
kind of has a nice balance. In my opinion, with Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 from Sam Raimi, it was Tobey Maguire, which I always will have an enjoyment for his role as Spider-Man or Peter Parker. But I think he had more of a nerdy or Peter Parker type aspect to him. Andrew Garfield, on the other hand, with Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, I am not a big fan of that reboot or whatever that was supposed to be by Sony. I
Hmm.
think that it could have been way better. In terms of him playing Spider-Man, he did a great job. Peter Parker, not so much. He didn't really have that nerdy aspect. If I, um, like in my opinion, I think he had more of that like kind of outcast type teen that's going to high school.
Yeah.
Just escape. Like it definitely didn't have that nerdy aspect like Tobey Maguire did. But like I said, with Tom Holland, I think he just has like that perfect like balance between both roles.
Yeah. Totally agreed. I think that with Tobey Maguire, he went more so in the nerdy aspect direction,
Yeah,
and then Andrew Garfield, he definitely went a lot further in the opposite direction, where he's kind of he. I think you described him best, the kind of outcast kind of guy. I don't know a better way to
yeah.
describe him. There, I'm sure, like skater boy. It's like he's a
Yeah, like
skater
skater
punk.
because all day he.
Uh, I think we lost him. Don't worry though. I'm confident he will return. Okay, he's back.
I may have disconnected. I don't know how that happened,
No,
but
no
okay.
problem. All right, continue.
But yeah, I definitely would say that he definitely was like the skater boy in the first, especially in the first movie. Like throughout most of the scenes, you're seeing him on the skateboard, and then like I think one of the things with Spider-Man: Homecoming, everyone I know there was kind of a bit of that topic of like, oh, there was no Uncle Ben scene, but I think one thing that was described is like we've already gotten the Uncle Ben scene several times, so it's like no one really needs to see another Uncle Ben scene. It would have been maybe a nice inclusion to see who would play Uncle Ben, but it's like we've seen that already. We saw that in the Sam Raimi trilogy
Hmm.
or the first movie. We saw that in the Amazing Spider-Man. It's like, do we really need another full origin story? Let's just jump into the action. Which for once, like normally when a movie just kind of like jumps straight into everything, it's like I don't really like go for that. It's like I need a build up, but with this, it's like we know the story already. Let's just get into the meat and potatoes and everything. Just jump right in, which I think they did a great job at.
Totally agreed. I I think it was a wise choice to kind of just annex that for now. Although I am interested as to what that is going to mean going further for the character. Um,
Yeah,
One of my friends mentioned on another podcast that I'm on that he suspects they're going in a very different direction for this Peter Parker, and it may end up in a very tragic ending for this character, depending on whether or not
uh,
they're basing it heavily off of the Ultimate series. So we we do
okay,
have to
okay,
wait and see. I'm curious.
yeah.
I'm very curious.
I mean, especially with the whole topic of Far From Home, how especially in the trailer they keep focusing on. Spoiler here: Tony Stark did, go. We'll miss him, but they keep focusing on him being the new Iron Man, and it's
Yeah.
like, are they gonna go for this aspect where he's gonna be like the new, pretty much Iron Man, like have that whole kind of aspect for him, or is he still gonna have like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man aspect of that? Like I'm hoping, like I can see because he did have a huge connection, kind of took Tony as a father figure throughout their time together, but it's still like I don't I would like to see how it would go, but I kind of don't want to just see him as, oh, he's the new Iron Man because he has all these suits and everything like that.
Mhm.
I feel like they could kind of change it up a bit. Maybe not like kind of jump straight into him being the new Iron Man, but maybe have the role taken upon someone else. Because I mean, like we have his daughter and everything now, so I don't know how that's gonna go. As for Pepper, I don't know
Mhm.
how that's going to go either. Because I think there has been that thing going around where she said, or the actor Gwyneth Paltrow said that she didn't want to play the character anymore. Like she was kind of done with the role. So I don't know
Yeah.
exactly how they're going to go forward with that whole thing.
Yeah. It remains to be seen, though I am, of course, immensely interested. I think that this next Spider Man is going to be one of the best Spider Man movies we've gotten thus far. And
Yeah.
and even though that's the case, I feel like the more interesting Spider Man movie is going to be the third one. Because that's really going to let us know the direction they're taking that character.
Of what? Yeah. Because I mean, so far now they've introduced Vulture, and now we're about to get introduced to Hydro Man, Molten Man, and I'm assuming that would be Sandman. I really don't know.
Possibly.
At first I was at first I was like, these don't really. I can't really say that these are the characters because at first there was this thing going around saying that they were supposed to be the elementals, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay. And then everyone kept saying, "Oh, that's Hydro Man, that's Molten Man." I'm like, are you sure? Because I don't think, in terms, unless they're just going for like a kind of, I guess, alternate style of the original villains, instead of having someone actually play the villains, they're just gonna do like actual, like I guess, like CGI uh, villains just for the entire sequences or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because which would be a bit of a downside because it's like, well, it would be cool to see the actual an actual actor for Hydro Man or something. I mean, I know they're doing it with Mysterio, which on the topic of Mysterio,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that he ends up turning out to actually be like, I'm hoping there's some kind of plot twist. Either he's actually been pretending all this time with the whole element or Hydro Man and everything like that, like trying to pretend that they're the actual bad guys, or maybe just like one of his powers of trying to pretend that that's what's there and that's not really there, and he ends up being the real villain in the.
Okay. We should be all good again. That's pretty much exactly how I figured it would go. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, I agree with you. You were talking about a
Yeah.
twist with Mysterio.
Yep, I definitely would like for that to happen and not just have him as an ally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. I don't think that they're going to be going the route of they're not going to play it straight. There's definitely some sort of a twist with him. It's just kind of a matter of what, and I feel like they're going to introduce that twist via these alternate realities or alternate dimensions and
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah,
So, yeah, no, definitely
because
looking forward to it.
they've even made mention of Earth 616 now, which is the universe where he's coming from, and there's been the thing that popped up now where Earth 616 is the home of or the alternate universe for Spider-Man UK, and so it's like, is that going to make an appearance in the movie, or are we going to see a different Spider-Man, or is there possibility of seeing a new, or not new, but another alternate version of Spider-Man popping up in this movie? If so, that would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or maybe it'll just be like an image or something, like, or some type of visualization.
Yeah.
Either way, I think it would be interesting to kind of see like an alternate version of him
Mm-hmm.
in this movie.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be an entertaining time, so long as they don't try and do anything dumb, like
Yeah.
like Goose.
Yeah.
So, all right.
What were your thoughts on Captain Marvel?
Eh, I thought it was an okay movie. It was just like it's the
Yeah.
first Marvel movie that I've seen since starting them that I've gone, yeah, this movie is painfully average. But
Yeah.
at the same time, that whole scene with Goose is easily the worst thing I've seen in a Marvel film and the dumbest thing I've seen in a Marvel
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
It is unfreaking acceptable. I don't like it at all.
Yeah. I think like in terms of Goose, I think it was more so as I think like they kind of downed him a lot. Like they just kind of, in my opinion, used him as a marketing ploy because oh, we'll make a bunch of cat toys and plushes about this cat. Kids
Mm-hmm.
are gonna love it. They'll beg their parents to go and buy it
Yeah.
instead of having the full aspect of him being a Flurkin, an alien that or an alien creature that looks like a cat but has like tentacles and stuff all inside its mouth. Like, why not get that actual version of that? We got, the marketing ploy of, oh, it's an adorable cat, and you have Nick Fury in many sequences just referring to it as, oh, such a cute kitty and everything like that. It's like, but it's not a cat, and it's they kind of downed it a lot. As for young Nick Fury, I think that I would say that he kind of made the movie a bit more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And same thing as for Talos, Ben Mendelsohn, I think, did a pretty good job. I will say that I don't, and spoilers are here, so if you guys have not seen the movie yet, Captain Marvel, then you can, I guess, like, mute or whatever. But I will say that I don't like what they did in terms of the Scroll storyline. They really messed it up in terms of them being the real villains, where they turned it where they were actually the allies or the good guys, and had it where the Kree were the bad guys. Like that really just messes up the entire comic book accuracy thing, like to a whole nother level. Because it's like, oh, the Skrulls are known as the villains. They're these shape shifting alien uh, group of people. And my thing was like, if this ends up being the thing, which is what I was hoping when Captain Marvel first got announced, or the movie was like, the trailer came out, was like, this is going to be good because we'll possibly get a Skrull invasion or something in Endgame or at some point, or someone's going to end up turning out a Skrull. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
get that because they decided to make them allies instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I, I'm immensely frustrated the route they went with the scrolls. I feel like they were. I'm sure they'll use them again, but this film
Yeah.
wasted the opportunity it had. Like, you remember that one scene from Winter Soldier where Fury is like, last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye. Remember that?
Yeah, they dumbed that down and made it where his eye got scratched out by a cat.
That's
There
the
was no
thing.
need to do that.
They
There was no need to do that.
had a movie with Nick Fury, young Nick Fury, before the eye, in a film with shapeshifters, one of which
Exactly.
literally takes the form of his buddy Coulson. And instead of that, instead of following up that quote and giving us some real
Yep.
character development for once, it's a
Yep.
cat.
The cat scratched his eye, and then they messed it up when they did it again later in the movie. They went and they had him do it again. It's like, why though? We don't need that. That really just ruins the whole thing. So now, I've been seeing like a lot of like memes and jokes and everything online about like people asking Nick Fury now, like, oh, what happened to your eye? I think like it was with Happy Hogan or something, or yeah, I think Happy Hogan. Someone made something where like Captain Marvel had told Happy that his eye had got scratched out by Goose, and so Hogan goes and asks Nick Fury, and is like, "Oh," or mentions it, and he's like, "Captain Marvel told me that your eye got scratched out by a cat. Is that true?" And just like, "We won't speak of that," or whatever. It's like I really think they could have left that out. They could have made something else better happen, or took that adventure. Since, like you said, this is him prior to the eye patch thing. They could have done something really cool to kind of show how he lost his eye or
Yeah,
got his eye or whatever. But I think the cat alternative was just dumb.
yeah. It made a joke out of it. Honestly, to me, the best thing that movie did was introduce Mother Flurkin to my vocabulary. And, because that's funny. But
Yeah,
outside of that, it's like no, you really messed it up this time, movie.
they,
It's
they,
very
they
unfortunate.
really did.
But
And at first, I know when I first saw the movie, I definitely was confused about the whole Tesseract thing because from my prior knowledge, Tesseract was on Asgard. It's like, how did the Tesseract end up with the scientists or whatever, and end up during that time frame? It's like, so was it originally with them, or where did this thing come from? And it was kind of confusing. Um, and then eventually, because like if they already had that, then how did it end up getting in possession of Asgard? Since they went for that route, I just feel
oh,
like they took a lot of unnecessary routes with it.
oh no. That makes a lot of sense because so it starts off being in Asgard,
Uh,
and oh goodness, how does gosh, so it starts off in Asgard. It then eventually ends up on Earth. And then you see it in the first
okay.
Captain America, and then at the end of that first Captain America, it falls into the ocean.
Oh, I forgot
Then
about
Tony
that.
Stark gets a
Okay.
hold of it, and then the scientist lady gets a hold of it, and then Nick Fury gets a hold of it again.
Oh, okay. I totally forgot about Captain America: First Avenger. Yep,
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah,
His Red Skull has to. Okay,
yeah,
now that makes sense. All right.
yep. But yeah, I feel like the whole movie was basically a large missed opportunity, which is really
Yeah,
unfortunate.
they definitely missed out on a lot. And a fun fact is that they actually filmed. Uh, she filmed her scenes. Brie Larson or Captain Marvel did their scenes for Endgame before they did what's it called, Captain Marvel. So it's kind of weird that they went that route too, because like, wouldn't you guys do like her origin movie first, have that whole good character development and everything? Maybe it would have even helped to make the movie a bit better, but they ended up doing where they're doing all because Avengers Endgame and Captain Marvel were being shot at the same time, so it's like I think it would have been better if you guys did that movie first and then work on to the whole Avengers Endgame thing, which is probably kind of like in terms of character development why it didn't do so well because she's just kind of jumping right into the action in Avengers Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's kind of weird, and it's kind of I will say that I definitely do like that they didn't have her be the one to defeat Thanos, mainly because it's like I want another group effort from the Avengers. This is their last appearance on screen, the original six. Let us have it where they're being the ones taking on Thanos, not some newcomer, because it's like then that kind of again that probably would have ruined the movie. It's like the
Yeah.
original six is their last time, or at least for them all being together on screen. This
Mm-hmm.
is going to be their last time, so let's make it a good one, and they did that, which is what really made me enjoy the movie as well.
Well, heck, I was talking to a friend of mine on the other podcast, and I'd made the point to him. Captain Marvel should not have been the film before. She should not have been in the movie at all. There shouldn't have been a Captain Marvel film before Endgame, and
Uh huh.
Captain Marvel should not have been in Endgame whatsoever. The film before Endgame should have been Black Widow. It should have been her movie, and
Yeah.
any scene
Yep.
any scene with Captain Marvel in it in Endgame, you swap her out for Thor. That whole thing at the end where she like
Yep.
blasts through the ships, forget it.
Yeah.
You have Thor with
Yeah.
Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. You can make that happen. You don't need her for it. That way, you
Exactly.
give Black Widow
Exactly.
her movie. You give her her big moment right before the penultimate fight or the final battle.
Yep.
You
Yep.
develop her character more before the final film, and then you can devote more time and energy to properly conveying Captain Marvel and not having to hurriedly shoehorn her in.
Yep. Exactly. Because it makes no sense that they would go now and have the Black Widow movie come out after Avengers Endgame. It's like it's the saga's already finished, or as they're calling it now, the Infinity Saga is already done. So why now give us a Black Widow movie? It's like, what are you guys going to go with there now? What's going to be the plot? Some people are saying that it's supposed to be after or prior to the events of Endgame or something like that, or prior after the events of Civil War. Like I don't know what's gonna be the storyline for it, being that she's gone now.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you guys planning on doing there as well? She definitely should have got. I definitely would say that she should have gotten her movie way before, like when the other solo movies were coming out. For Incredible Hulk, you have Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. Only people that didn't get their movies were Hawkeye and Black Widow. That was it.
Yeah.
And as well, I want to find out, what happened in Budapest because they make mention of it several times in the MCU of, oh, this is totally, reminds me of Budapest. It's like, what happened in Budapest with Hawkeye and Black Widow? Like, I want to find that out. Hopefully, they'll make mention of that in the movie. If and hopefully, it will be a movie that's not really like after any events that have taken like major effect in the MCU. Hopefully, it will be like an actual origin story, but we'll have to wait and see when that comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be a waiting game, but I am excited for it. I think it will be
Yep.
interesting to see, at the very least. So, okay. So we got a few more questions. We'll go ahead and get to those, and then we're going to go
All right.
ahead and wrap things up. So from Brother W,
All right.
he has two questions. However, I'm going to omit one. And brother, if you want, if you want to stop me, if you want me to ask your full question, you're going to have to come to Brick Fair, Virginia, and ask it in person, and then I will never skip it ever again. But until then, he asks, "How was your day?"
My day was good. Brother W, thank you for asking. Been doing a lot of like editing and stuff like that recently. Not just for my channel. I actually have been doing or have done two videos so far with Beyond the Brick. So kind of doing that now. So it definitely has been busy. I've
Yeah,
been having a busy day, sort of.
I saw that. That's really, like, that's awesome that you're working with them. I've talked to them very sparingly, but I know the
Yeah.
folks over there, they do wonderful work, and it's awesome
Yeah.
that you're working with them. So that's fantastic. Okay.
Thank
Sakota asks, "Do you also like DC comics, movies, and/or shows, or do you only care about Marvel?"
I would say predominantly or majority of rules, I would care more about Marvel than DC. Not that much of a DC fan. Will I watch the movies that do come out from DC? Of course. I enjoyed Aquaman. That was pretty good. Wonder Woman was a pretty decent movie. Uh, so I don't have anything against DC. I would say that I guess like in terms of a balance of things, Marvel definitely does have more of a balance, which is why I'm more drawn to it. With DC, it's always this dark, gritty thing going for it, and it's like, okay. And then there's those times when they try and go for the comedic version of things, or trying to, I guess, like get the right formula that Marvel is using, or however I guess you would phrase that. So they make a movie like Green Lantern, and that ends up being like a huge flop because it did terrible, and I did not enjoy it. Um, or you have a movie like Shazam, which I have watched, and that was actually pretty good in my opinion. It had a perfect balance of everything, and especially in terms of introducing a new character. So I wouldn't say I hate DC. I would say that they have some things to work out in terms of their, you know, extended universe films that are out. Their animated films, those are pretty good. I kind of enjoy those more than the Marvel animated films. Uh, and I think that pretty much kind of sums that up.
Okay. Fair enough answer. All right. The next question is from Green Tornado, who asks, "Toby Maguire or Andrew Garfield?"
Tobey Maguire would be much better than Andrew Garfield. I'd say that in a heartbeat. I love Tobey Maguire's performance. As I said earlier, he definitely could have done a bit better as a Spider-Man, but just overall, I mean, especially since this is like our first, I guess, like major thing with the character in terms of a live action film. So at the time, it definitely was the thing that everyone kind of enjoyed for the most part, or like like really liked. Of course, now we have like different people that have played Spider Man now, so it's like we're gonna be more drawn to Tom Holland. Most of us probably will. But if we were to omit Tom Holland out of the situation, I would immediately go for Andrew Garfield. Then not Andrew Garfield. No, not Andrew Garfield. I would immediately go for Tobey Maguire than Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, no, I think that is the popular answer, and I completely understand why it is.
Yep.
So fair enough. All right, Makuta Pterodax asks reaction to the mega constructs, aka mega blocks, saving construction with Halo figures.
I have not been much into mega constructs to say I care about the brand or the license that they have. I would say that Masters of the Universe, since I have watched several episodes from the show and I have watched the prior live action movie, I would say that those are much better in terms of, I guess, the sets. I mean, they're pretty cool. Maybe if Lego was to do that, it would be much better. But I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's a good perspective to have. As far as I'm concerned, you say saving construction, wait till it comes out. Because at the end of the day, we're still, no matter how many times the quality of mega constructs have been improved, still mega constructs. So we're gonna have to wait and see. I have very little faith in this new mega constructs construction. We have to see how it is in people's hands, because Lego has a very high standard of quality that they follow. They don't always match it, make no mistake. However, they do try very hard to make sure that they can wherever possible. I don't think that Mega Constructs is going to live up to that, and I think you're going to find that many people are going to be disappointed with this Master Chief. But I'm happy to be proven wrong, so we will have to wait and see. But I don't think it's anywhere close to saving Construction. And for anyone that doesn't know what that means, it means constructible action figure. So a Construction line would be something like Hero Factory, the Star Wars Ultra builds, or most notably, Bionicle. So, and of course, Mr. Hinkle Draws in the chat mentions benefit of the doubt. Benefit of the doubt, my friend. And fair benefit of the doubt. But it's Mega Constructs.
It is. It is Mega Constructs.
Yeah. All right. We're going to make this last question. This is from Green Tornado, who asks, did you like Venom?
I'm assuming he's talking about the Tom Hardy
one. That would be my assumption, too.
Yeah, unless he's talking about Topher Grace, which I wouldn't say I enjoyed that as much. But I wouldn't say I enjoyed that as much. But Tom Hardy's movie, I would say, as in Eddie Brock, he was pretty interesting in terms of his aspect or take on the character. The Venom in the movie, I would say, was, again, it had an interesting take. I think it was much better. I mean, well, it probably would be better since Topher Grace's Venom didn't really have much of an actual screen time until like towards the end of Spider-Man 3. So it's like, I guess I would be more drawn to that. Definitely do hate the fact that he doesn't have the white spider on his chest, because it's like that's the Venom that we recognize. This one, they have to omit it from the situation because Spider-Man is now part of the MCU, and they can't include that because that's Sony's turf or whatever, since they're making this movie. It's not MCU material. And then now they're gonna go and, of course, now and make a Morbius movie. So it's kind of weird, though. I would say that seeing spin-off movies without Spider-Man or mention of Spider-Man, for example, like, because these are like characters that are big within the Spider-Man comic realm, or in terms of comics. So you have like Venom, Morbius, the living vampire. Like, it's kind of weird seeing these movies, but you don't have any Spider-Man. Because I mean, who wouldn't like to see, Spider-Man and Venom back at it again, or Spider-Man and Morbius, in the same scene together like that? That would be interesting. But you can't get that because Sony owns Spider-Man.
Yeah. All right. I would say that's a reasonable perspective. Now, there are actually two more questions, but I'll make them very fast.
Okay.
First of all, these are both from Brother W. First, have you ever eaten a mangosteen?
I have not. Now, I did watch your thing with Cut the Crackle, and I forgot to search what a mangosteen is.
It
So,
that's
I
fair.
um
a
I have not.
All right, all right, fair enough. Well, if I have them at the time,
I'm assuming I'm assuming that it is the fruit that is in your logo, though, right?
yes, yes, that is correct.
Okay. All right. All
That is
right.
the fruit. That's what it's supposed to be. It's a mangosteen. If I have them at the time, hunt me
Okay.
down at Brick Fair this year. I should have plenty, like a lot. I'm planning on
Okay.
buying
I
so
would
many.
definitely like to try that.
All right, excellent, perfect. Now you have a reason to find me, and I
Yep.
hope dearly to have mangosteen. I'm bringing a small pocket knife with me this time, so that hopefully I'll be able to cut them open
Okay.
wherever.
Yep.
All right, the other question, and we're going to go ahead and make this the last one. What is your opinion on Star Wars The Last Jedi?
Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Let's see. I watched the first part of it, then stopped, watched the rest of it, and I definitely would not say I enjoyed the movie as much. I feel like it definitely wasn't as good as The Force Awakens. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to say. It wasn't as good as The Force Awakens. Could have been better.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now how do you feel about it as a movie?
As a movie, I mean, some of the scenes were overall pleasing, like the casino scene where you have them like on the forgot the name of the creature, but like they're running through like the whole area and everything. That was kind of interesting. The crate scene was good. It was nice seeing more screen time this time from Luke Skywalker, or Mark Hamill in his old appearance for Luke Skywalker. That was interesting. And I kind of think the movie really let me down when they didn't reveal who Rey's parents were. They kind of just went for the, oh, she's just a nobody. That just kind of really ruined a lot of opportunity.
Okay. All right. Fairly even mentality on it. I can respect that. All right. Fair enough. If you'd like the movie, well, then I have to blacklist you. I can't have you on the show anymore if you like it.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
definitely did
unacceptable.
not like the movie. I definitely did not.
I'm kidding, but yeah. No, it's honestly like I'm not a big Star Wars guy. Ask anyone. I'm
Yes, man.
not
Yeah,
not super big into it, but I hated watching that movie. It wasn't even because
yeah.
I just like Star Wars. It's just not
Force
fun.
Awakens. I think that in terms of Force Awakens, J.J. Abrams did an amazing job on it. Um, Especially since it's sort of a new trilogy or thing. I will say this may be a very unpopular opinion, but I will say that each trilogy seems to pretty much continue itself in the same general plot line. You have a bunch of characters that are banding together. One of them has a lightsaber. That whole thing going for it. Uh, and you have your droids with you along the journey. You make some new friends along the journey. For example, Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy, he's with you have C-3PO, you have what's it called, C-3PO and
R2D2.
R2D2, and then he meets Ben Kenobi, since that's what he wanted to go by until he was revealed as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Um, so he meets him along the way. Then for Rey's instance, she eventually gets the lightsaber. Well, that's later down the line, but she gets the lightsaber, and then eventually makes friends with Luke Skywalker. It's like I kind of feel like they end up kind of repeating the whole general plot line of the Star Wars franchise a lot, especially with the main trilogy. I guess like in terms of the trilogy type movies.
Hmm. Yeah, no, there's certainly a lot of repetition. It feels very similar, and I understand why that's one of the larger critiques against it. I think it's a fine movie. It's not anything
Yeah,
grievously offensive.
yeah.
So
As for Rise of Skywalker, of course, it's not out yet, but I will plan on watching it to see how it does. I will say that the name possibly could have been better than The Rise of Skywalker. It just sounds kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of Luke Skywalker, or from what we know so far, he's gone. Even though they had the thing in the trailer where it's like no one's ever really gone, and then you have Palpatine's laugh. It's like, okay, so what's that supposed to mean? Are you telling us that he didn't die in the Death Star? Or what are you guys trying to do here?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we'll see once that releases.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. It'll be interesting. I'm not going to see it until it's probably out on DVD. I don't watch Star Wars movies in theaters, but
Yeah, I haven't done the same either. I've watched it on my phone or whatever, like digital.
yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing. So, but we'll see. I'm interested. So, okay, that about covers everything. I think that's about all we can do for today.
Okay.
So, Vision, thanks so much for taking the time today, and thank you for your patience amongst all these technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
All right, fantastic. But thank you very much. And as a final question, is there anywhere on social media you would like people to follow you at?
You guys can follow me on Instagram at VisionBricksYT. Same thing on Twitter, and those are the only two social medias I have for my channel or whatever. And then of course I have my actual channel, which you guys are looking for some cool mocks or uh, detailed explanations of mocks and certain techniques. I would highly recommend checking it out because that's what I like to focus on there.
Fantastic. And is there any final words of encouragement that you would like to depart with to anyone that's getting into things, might feel a little intimidated about it all?
I will say, don't worry about the followers or the subscribers that you're getting. Just be humble, which is what I've definitely had to do throughout this whole process. I've been on YouTube for over 2 years now, or a little over 2 years now, and I'm only at 800 subs. I wouldn't say like what I would say. I would say basically just take your time with things, and as long as you continue to put out good effort and content and dedication to what you do, you'll definitely everything else is going to follow pretty much. So I would definitely say that.
Okay. Fantastic. In that case, everyone, make sure to head on down to the description below. I will have all of the aforementioned links listed there. I highly recommend checking out his channel. The videos are excellent. He has a few reviews, and of course he has the mock showcases of his creations. They're super excellent, high quality. A good time is guaranteed. All right. Well, again, Vision, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Eldred. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And thank you to everyone that tuned in today, either the live version that, I swear to you guys, I will work this out, I promise, that had a variety of technical difficulties, or the recorded one that will be up on the channel, hopefully within the next few days. So, again, thank you all so very much for listening. Hopefully you have had a great time, or at least, if not a great time, at least a good time. So, once again, thank you all so very much. This has been yet another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. The show airs every single Saturday, every weekend at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, unless specified otherwise over on Twitter at the Eljay Johnsen, where you can find updates and guest announcements every single Tuesday. And if you have any questions over the week, make sure you send them on over to my email, ljjohnson@gmail.com. Remember, that's JOHNSEN. All right, that'll be it. Thank you all so very much for listening, and we will see you again next time. Have a wonderful day.